Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so excited you're tuning in today because, well, we're diving into something that literally plagues almost every single one of us in this digital age. We're going to unpack the actual anatomy behind that stubborn, chronic upper back pain that just never seems to go away. We're pulling back the curtain on how our daily habits are practically rewriting our biology, and most importantly, what the source material reveals about finally fixing it for good. So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt this incredibly frustrating sensation, like there's this thick, knotted rope buried deep under your shoulder blade? And maybe you've noticed it always seems to flare up or get way worse right around midday, which, interestingly enough, is exactly when traditional medicine says your body's yang energy starts to drop. Or maybe it just hits you when you're completely exhausted or literally just bending over to pick something up. If you're nodding along right now, I just want to say you're seen, you're understood, and you are definitely not the only one dealing with this. Okay, let's dive into this, because this very specific pain actually has a name and honestly, a pretty intimidating history. It's called Gogwangwan. Now, back in ancient times, they had this saying, disease entering Gogwangwan. It basically meant an incurable affliction, a point of no return. Anatomically, Gogwang sits right there in the hollow of your shoulder blade. And in severe cases, it's not just this hidden ache, it actually turns into visible swelling. Like it gets so pronounced that if you run a hand over your back, one side will literally feel raised and puffier than the other. Crazy, right? Part 1. Modern Anatomy and the 3C Posture. Let's look at the modern medical explanation for all this, and how our devices are basically being weaponized against our own bodies. To really get why this hurts so much, we have to look at the anatomical culprits. In that Go Huang area, there's this complex intersection of muscles that are just taking a massive beating day in and day out. We're talking primarily about the rhomboid muscles, the posterior superior serratus, and the multifidus muscle, which, by the way, intricately overlaps with what traditional medicine calls the bladder meridian. That swelling and the pain you're feeling, it's a direct result of improper pulling, micro-tearing, and just profound stiffness happening right across these exact muscle groups. Notice the direct comparison we have here between what our bodies were actually built to do and what we constantly force them to do. On one side, you've got healthy alignment. In this state, your muscles are dynamic, right? They contract and release smoothly to support your skeleton while you move. But then look at the other side. This is what we call the 3C posture trap. 3C stands for our modern obsession with computers, communications, and consumer electronics. All that slouching and rounding of your shoulders, it forces those upper back muscles into this perpetual lengthened and weak state. So whether you're typing away at an office desk or just potatoing on the couch, this exact posture holds those muscles hostage under this constant straining tension. Part 2, the fascia fibrosis trap. And this is where it goes from just a bad habit to basically a biological horror story. Seriously, think about how heavy your skull actually is for a second. When your muscles are stuck in that stretched out, weakened state, they literally can't hold your head up properly anymore. So what does your body do? Well, it panics. To support your skeleton and keep your heavy head from just pulling everything forward, your body desperately starts laying down thick, fibrous tissue right over those weak muscles. It is essentially pouring biological concrete in there. Over time, this causes cross-adhesions, meaning your tissues basically get glued together, leading to chronic inflammation and eventually actual calcification of your fascia. So that Gohong swelling, that is quite literally your fascia turning to stone in a desperate bid to keep you upright. Which brings us to a pretty visceral question. Can you actually push a clicking, swollen mass of meat around on your back? For a lot of people suffering from this chronic Gohong pain, the answer is terrifyingly yes. This thickened tissue, especially along the multifidus muscle and bladder meridian, gets so monstrously swollen that it legitimately feels like a thick rope or a hard chunk of meat. You can literally push it back and forth near the hollow of your shoulder blade. Sometimes, if you roll your shoulder, it'll even make this horrifying clicking sound. And because everything is tied up so tight, it can even stop you from taking a full deep breath. Part 3. The escalation of care, temporary fixes and hacks. Let's look at the go-to methods most people try when they finally hit their breaking point. Okay, so one of the absolute most popular, easily accessible hacks is the tennis ball method. It's super simple but highly targeted. First, you just lie down on the floor and place a tennis ball exactly on that swollen, calcified Gohuang spot. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, you keep it pressed there for no more than 5 minutes. Third, while the ball is pinning that tissue down, you slowly move your elbow up towards the top of your head and then side to side, probing around until you pinpoint the exact epicenter of the pain. It is super intense, but why does it actually work? Well, this brilliantly illustrates a physiological concept called ischemic pressure. See, when you press that tennis ball deep into your hardened fascia, you're temporarily choking off the local blood supply. You are basically squeezing it dry like a sponge. But the real magic happens the second you roll off the ball. Releasing that deep pressure causes all this fresh blood to come rushing back into the area like a tidal wave, flushing out toxins and noticeably helping to reduce the swelling. It gives you this incredible rush of temporary deep relief. Then you have another approach that uses a totally different physical mechanism, cupping therapy. So instead of pushing down, cupping pulls up. It creates negative pressure right over that Gao area. This vacuum effect is designed to basically suck out the deep congestion and those trapped blockages that have been building up in the thickened tissue. It draws all that stagnant blood straight to the surface, which gives you a very similar, highly sought-after feeling of temporary relief. But here's the thing. We have to understand the difference between finding relief and actually finding a cure. Let's break down the illusion we all kind of fall for. On one side, yeah, simply getting a massage or consciously pulling your shoulders back will definitely give you some minor comfort and take the edge off the tension, but it offers zero real treatment for the actual fibrosis. On the other side, things like the tennis ball and cupping give you way better, deeper relief by playing with your blood flow. But here's the hard truth from our source material. If you have severe, chronic Gao swelling, absolutely none of these mechanical hacks are going to cure you. They manage the symptoms, sure, but that hardened concrete, it's still there. Part 4, the ultimate self-healing solution. If massages, tennis balls, and cupping can't break up that calcification, what actually can? The text states this so powerfully. It says, when your Gao pain has reached a point where no method can improve it, the only way out is through Qigong, Nigong, and meditation. This is a massive paradigm shift for a lot of us. We're moving completely away from all those external mechanical fixes, and we're stepping into profound internal energy work and highly focused breathing to unbind all that deeply calcified trauma in the body. Now, I know exactly what some of you might be thinking. Is this just some mystical woo-woo theory? But the text makes it crystal clear. No, this isn't just pulled from some ancient philosophy book. This is actually the proven self-healing path of the author Ai-Hung Chen. Drawing on his really extensive professional background, researching martial arts, deep anatomical mechanics, and traditional healing methods, Chen literally reversed his own severe chronic Gao pain using these exact internal practices. He's walking, living proof that even the most stubborn, deep tissue fibrosis and calcification can be reversed when you properly harness the body's internal systems. So, the underlying message here is absolutely critical, guys. Do not let your daily screen time and your devices literally turn the muscles in your back to stone. If you found this breakdown of our anatomy and this pathway to actually healing it helpful, please make sure to hit like, share this with a friend who's always slouching, and subscribe. That way we can keep exploring the incredible science of your body together in future explainers. I want to leave you with this one final thought before we wrap up. We spend our days hunched over the most advanced technological devices ever created by humans, totally destroying our physical structure in the process. Isn't it just absolutely fascinating that the ultimate cure for our modern technology-induced pain requires us to turn entirely away from the physical world and embrace the most ancient internal solutions? Just something to think about the next time you feel that thick rope knotting up in your shoulder blade. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.